Hello and good afternoon. In our last video, we showed the awesomeness of SharePoint lists. And in this one, we're going to show you how to convert your existing Excel sheets into SharePoint lists. Let's get into it. So let's say I have this table of data, and I'm calling this my timesheet data. So this is a table, and it is called Table 2. Well, there you go. And we got a table of timesheet data, when work was done and by who, what they worked on, how many hours they spent, what did they do. And there's a status field here as well. Pretty awesome. We all love Excel, and Excel has its place for sure. But this is a simple list. These are just straight up fields, date, number, text, and that makes it really easy to bring it into SharePoint. And we bring a list like this into SharePoint, and now we have SharePoint's power of lists and list forms and formatted columns and Power Automate flows and row-based permissions, etc. So let's take a look at bringing this basic worksheet into SharePoint and creating a list from it. Now, the first thing to notice is the date fields. These are, in fact, formatted as dates. And doing it in this format, the ISO format, is generally best. SharePoint likes it better if it's year dash month dash day. So this is year, month, day. So format it that way, first of all. Now, this is going to be a person field inside my SharePoint list, but we won't be able to import it that way. You'll see what happens. Here's a project, and this is the number of projects we're working on. So the same project. So we're going to import that just as a text field, a number field, and a text field, and this is going to be a choice field. This is a number of particular choices. Okay. So none of these are formulas. So that's the first thing to watch out for, is that we don't want to have formulas. Secondly, it is a table, and SharePoint likes to open it as a table. And thirdly, I can't have it open while I am importing it. So let me close it and I'll show you the import process. So here in my SharePoint site, I create a new list and all kinds of basic list types at the top here. But look, I can import from Excel or a comma separated values, or I can bring it in from an existing list. So our focus here is from Excel, though CSV is almost the same thing. Let's try this Excel thing. So first of all, it shows me the different files I have on this site already, but I'm going to upload the file. And here it is, PS data, and I'll open that. Uploading, it's loading the tables. So it's looking for tables. So it found one table called table 2. Now here's the data that's stored in that table. We were just looking at that. So the first thing is the work date. It hasn't recognized it as a date field. So I have to say, no, this is actually date time. So now it's got date. It's trying to put the time field on. I don't actually use the time field, but there's no just date without time. There's a do not import. Let's go with date and time. Now, this title field always must exist. So they're using defaulting here to the work done by is by the title field. And notice I can't import a user column. So let's just use that as the title field. Sure. We're going to use that as a single line of text. It's recognized the hours field as a number. Thank you very much. Details, single line of text. This could be multiple lines of text. So let's go that way. And then the status, this is going to end up being a choice column. So when we have our list, these are things to choose from. Okay. So that's the setup for this simple load. And we have about 60 records, I think, 58 records. So let's call this timesheet load and create. So it's creating the list from Excel, reading the Excel table now. Okay, so look at that. We've got all the data loaded in, the work done, project or job, the hours seem to have loaded correctly, the details, and the status. Let's take a look at the list settings and see what's happened behind the scenes here. List settings. I'll click on this work date field to take a look at the details. It looks like work date here, looks great, but when you look at this URL, field equals field 0. So whenever we're creating fields in SharePoint, we always use a simple name here in the column name, and that ends up being the field name here. When you import, SharePoint gives you field underscore a number. It's not a meaningful field name. This doesn't say work date, it should be work date. And you can't change that. Once you've loaded that field in, that is the name, you're stuck with it. So this one will be field 3 or something. There it is, field 3. Okay, so if you're not doing anything more than just using this list as it is, that's not a big deal. But if you're trying to do anything with Power Automate, JSON formatting, or Power Apps, it really makes it hard to work with this list. You really, it's not obvious what the field names are when you look at them internally. The other problem is that this title field's loaded in. It's my person field, but it's actually called title. And so if I wanted to have a person or group field, I would actually have to create that here in the list and then move the data over. So this will get the job done. And the other thing that fails with this load is I've told the status field to be a choice. So it's set it as a choice type field, but when I click on the status, it hasn't loaded any of the choices from the list. So I'd have to enter them here. Ideally, it would be taking the statuses and summarizing them here, but it does not do that. Okay, let's take a different approach, and we're going to go into this timesheet that I've already built. Now, the approach here with building something like this is that I always build it in Word first, building a list in Word first. I'll create it in Word, and I'll list the field names, what data type they are, mandatory, etc. And then I can copy and paste from here when I create the list, including the statuses, etc. Okay, so that's the approach I take, and that's the one we promote in our SharePoint in Practice books. But whichever way you've produced the list, you're going to use the proper data types. So the date is a date field, work done by is a person field. The choice field, let's just look at that. The settings. There's a choice field here for status, and it actually has choices in there. Great. So what we do to load from Excel into an existing list like this is that we use the grid view. So grid view, the first step is to set up these columns so they match the Excel I'm loading from. So let me go to my Excel again. And I've got work date, work done by, project, hours, details, and status. Okay. So this one, work date, work done by, project, hours, details. Oh, modified, modified by. So those are in the way. So let's modify this view, edit current view. We'll get those modified and modified by fields out of the way. Don't need them right now. And the status comes next. Okay, great. Save that view. And then refresh. Still showing the modified, modified by, refresh again. There it is. Okay, so now our columns match our Excel list. I go into edit and grid view. I go into the Excel and I copy all of this data. So I like to use Control A. That copies everything except the header. And then Control C. Minimize that. And now back in the timesheet, I add a new item and paste, Control V. All right, so it doesn't like my date format. All right, just after I said that it wants this format, well, that's for importing. So let's change it to month, day, year. And we'll try again. Okay, we'll exit grid view. It'll say discard changes. So I'll get rid of all that. Okay, so let's change our date format here. Custom dates and custom. Okay, here in the custom format, we're saying show them as month, day, year. There we are. So let's try this again. Control A, Control C, minimize, edit grid view, and click there and paste. All right, so now you see it sort of popping on the left-hand side as they slowly stores everything. Oh, let's exit grid view first. Exit grid view. I think some can't be saved. Why not? What are the errors? This one. Work done by requires a value. Okay, so you can fix these while we're here. Now I can exit grid view. Okay, so that's the second method. Like I say, the edit and grid view and then the paste can be a bit finicky, but it can save a lot of time as well. It's almost like magic when it works. So fiddle with it a little bit and you're good to go. The third method I'm going to show you is Power Automate flows. So if I open up Power Automate, and as I'm sure you're aware, Power Automate is this powerful citizens programming tool. So it's meant for everybody to use. And I could describe with Copilot here, but I'm just going to go in here and create a flow. And it's going to be an instant cloud flow, which means it's going to run when I tell it to run, either through a button or just by running it here in Power Automate. You could automate this process if you're going to load records every so often, when a new item is added to a folder, that sort of thing. But for this example, I'm just going to say load timesheet. And imagine this is just an initial load. Timesheet. Okay, so it's a manual trigger. We'll run it one time as we need. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look in the Excel section, and it is going to be get. Let's see more here. This one, list rows present in a table. So I sign in. Okay, select from the drop-down or specify one of the following. So this is the file that we're looking for. So it's in OneDrive. So then in my OneDrive, I can now navigate. And I know that it's in marketing, video, and Excel to SharePoint list, and this one here, TS data. And now that it's read that, I should be able to find the table, which was table 2. Great. So that's all we need right now. And then what we'll do is we'll create items in a SharePoint list. And the list is the modern sandbox. Here it is. It's in the modern sandbox, and the list is named timesheet. There it is, timesheet. And now show all to show all of the columns down here. And here we can load in the data. So I'll click in the word date and I'll click the little lightning bolt, adding data from a previous step, and I should be able to find it here. There it is, work date. Work done by claims. So this is a person field. So let's take a look at that, and that is work done by. There we go. And so we go through the fields in the SharePoint list item one by one, flagging and tagging them to match the Excel table. And sometimes you have to mess around with lookup fields cause a problem. Manage metadata fields can cause a problem as well. So this is a bit more of an advanced approach, but that's the approach, that you would list those rows in the table and then create items based on the rows. Sometimes you might need to do some transformations in between, and then you would save it and you would run a test here to run that flow. It's very straightforward for simple data sets. If you are using management data, it gets more complicated. Okay, so those are some basic ideas and 3 different methods to load your Excel lists into SharePoint. The one I recommend the most and highly recommend is you create the list from your design document in SharePoint first, making sure you have your choice fields and your user lookups, your date fields, all that good stuff in place. And then if you can copy and paste in the data using the datasheet view, you're golden. If not, then go to Power Automate and then do the work required to create the fields in SharePoint. I've given you the basis structure there, but then field by field, it may be more complicated. So reach out to me if you have any questions or if you need help with this. I'm happy to help. What I do for a living. And I'll see you again here online soon. Please feel free to like and subscribe.